evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fountain Performing Arts Center here on the campus of King's Edge Hill School. Behind these doors, Quick as a Wink Theatre Society has been hard at work preparing for their upcoming production of The Mousetrap, penned by the Queen of Crime herself, Agatha Christie. The Mousetrap, first released in 1952 in London's West End, has now become the longest continuously running play in history, currently enjoying its 66th year and over 25,000 performances. The cast and crew are excited to give you a look inside the theatre, which we're going to do next, and then we'll sit down and have a chat with the cast about what makes a great murder mystery. Let's step inside the theatre and have a look now. Welcome to the set of Quick as a Wink's production of The Mousetrap. This is the Great Hall of Monkswell Manor, where the entire play is set. Joining me on set, I have the cast of The Mousetrap. Ashley Langell as Molly Ralston, Ryan Harvey as Giles Ralston, Frieden Gilbert as Christopher Wren, Carol Ball as Ms. Boyle, Jeff Ball as Major Metcalf, Lily Ashdown as Miss Casewell, Lison Richard as Miss Paravicini, and Andrew Kasperzak as Detective Sergeant Trotter. Thank you everyone for joining me tonight. You must be incredibly excited for this show to begin, and we thought we'd try to have a chat with all of you to learn more about you and this historical production. I have a few questions that I'm going to throw out to all of you, and then maybe we can pass the mic around so we can hear a couple different answers on each question. So Andrew, we're going to start with you. How and when did you first become involved with Quick as a Wink?
Yeah, Quick as a Wink. I met across Tim Horton's table from Michelle Hertz back in 2000-something, and she passed over to me a huge binder that was full of a script that she had spent years toiling on called Glory Days. This was back a long time ago, and starting with that conversation, we did the opening scene of Glory Days that year in the Avon River Days. It might not have been called that then. I think it was called something we're not allowed to say anymore. But
sure.
Anyway, it was the opening scene, and I did Farmer Walter Aylward in that, and then we did 2 runs of the full thing of Glory Days in the Mermaid Performance Center the 2 years after that, and I was Daniel Winkworth in those shows. And a few years later, I was in another show with Quick as a Wink called Leading Ladies. Yeah, I don't remember what year that was either, so we're talking a while back. Yeah, that's my Quick as a Wink history.
Wonderful, thank you. Anybody else particularly like to jump in on that?
Hi, I started with Quick as a Wink when my daughters and I auditioned for Annie about 2 years ago, I guess, in the winter. And I had been on hiatus from theater for 10 years at that point, so it was really nice community to start my second part of my community theater career. Great family to be part of.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Jeff, we're going to move on to you next here. What would you consider to be your favorite theater accomplishment or memory?
Wow, that's a really loaded one, because how many hours do you have? Really?
60 seconds.
Maybe I should say days. Okay, well, they kind of pile up over a lot of years. Should I tell them? Nah. No, I'm not saying how many years. That would be embarrassing. Favorite accomplishment, I think, would probably be directing and producing The Clean House by Sarah Rule. That was a wonderful show. Most memorable thing, I go way back to the first play I was ever in, The Night of the Iguana. And we had an old fellow there who was playing one of the Germans, and as part of the scene, he had to get very excited and slam down his drink and wag his head. And one evening when he did this, one of his ears came up off his head and went flying right across the table and landed right down in somebody's eyeball. Yeah, we never knew that this fellow had a false ear before. Well, we found out very desperately that night. Yeah, talk about an undercover thing. Well, I never had either. So help me, that's true. Yeah, it was, and that was a lot of years ago.
Oh, a year.
Yeah. Other than that, well, had a great time at Quick as a Wink there last March, too. And Faith County. Evening of the Show. Yes. Right. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. Okay. I could tell you a lot more stories.
No, that's okay. We'll let you take a breather and maybe let somebody else
Okay.
jump in.
We'll leave it at one missing ear.
You're never going to top the fake ear.
No. Ryan, how about maybe hearing from you?
Yeah, I guess I can say it or something. Well, I guess that my biggest accomplishment or memory, I would have to say, in theater is when I first started. I kind of started a long time ago, back in grade 5. Actually, even before that, we grade 4s and grade 3s and 4s, they weren't allowed to be in the plays or musicals, so we were allowed to be in the choirs, and I was always interested in that. But when I got into grade 5, we did our first show, which was School Junior, and I ended up playing JoJo in that musical, and it was just the most memorable thing for me because it was my first big role, and it just kept me wanting to do more from there. So I'd have to say that's probably my biggest memorable experience.
Thank you. Ashley, we're going to move on down to you now. In your opinion, what is the best thing about live theater? Why are people drawn to it?
In my opinion, I think that people love theater because it's live. It's a different sort of energy than you would get, say you went to a movie theater. You're being engaged in a performance, but also the performers are being engaged by an audience, so it's kind of a give and a take both ways, which I think is really nice.
Awesome. Thank you. Freedom, what about you? What would you say in response to that question?
I think part of it, I know this sounds silly, but when you're in the audience, part of it is the fear that something will go horribly wrong. And it makes it interesting. Because you know when you're watching a movie, it's like, okay, they've toiled over this for thousands of hours, they've edited it all. With a play, it's like, oh God, it's live, raw, like anything could happen.
Yeah, the fear's on stage too.
Yes, definitely. Awesome, thank you. We're moving on to Ryan here next. Ryan, what are your hobbies and interests outside of theater?
So again, I'm with Jeff on this one. I could talk for hours about this. Like,
60 seconds.
60 seconds, here we go. So outside of school, I always grew up playing a lot of sports. So I was into football, hockey, softball, and wrestling, all that kind of stuff, volleyball. So, but my biggest hobby outside of theater is music. I actually go to Acadia and I study music. I want to be a music teacher when I'm finished. So I play bluegrass music in the summer, and that's kind of my big go-to areas. It's just performing and playing music, and that's my big hobby.
Awesome. Thank you. Lily, we haven't heard from you yet. How about you?
Oh, hey.
My hobbies vary from like trying out any sort of crafty thing that there is. So recently I'm doing wax melts. I know, guys, calm down, calm down.
Can you do ears?
Actually, no, coincidentally. And also I do a podcast with a friend called 36 Times, which is a true crime podcast. So I'm really into looking into true crime stories and all that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Liesl, we're moving on to you next. If you could play any one theatrical role, what would it be and why?
Ms. Paravancini.
Good
But truly, every time I do step on stage, that is my favorite role. I love engaging with character development in my own head and bringing something on page, hopefully bringing something new that other people haven't thought of, or I just love doing the part I'm doing right now. On top of that, I would love in the future, hey directors out there, to do anything of substantial role in Shakespeare or Oscar Wilde, Moliere. I feel that these classics have such beautiful language that outside the theater today, or academia, we don't visit as much, and I just think it's something that we must pursue to keep in our lives. It's just beautiful.
Thank you. Carol, we haven't heard from you yet down there. Any ideas as to what role you would like to play?
Well, I've pretty much done a lot. in 41 years, from Shakespeare, Lady Scottish play. Yeah, I'm not saying it. I did Piglet. From Piglet to Shakespeare. I did Oscar Wilde. I've done Weezer and Steel Magnolias. I've done one of my favorite plays, Calendar Girls. I celebrated my 50th birthday by posing for a calendar. Not on sale anymore. But I think one I've never done and I would love to do is Mrs. Danvers and Rebecca, if they ever do a stage version. I just like being psycho. So that's probably it. Yeah. And I'm good at it, that's my outfit. We'll talk later. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to Lily for this next question here. Lily, in your opinion, why do you think the Mousetrap has endured for so long? Since 66 years is quite a while. It's quite a run.
Well, I think at the beginning of it, the reason why I kept going was that it was a very classic whodunit that anybody can get their teeth into, even if you're rooting for the wrong person, as it were. You're sitting there going, I know that murderer, and it's not them. You're still having a good time. And it's fast enough, it's quick enough, and it has a great enough surprise that we all want to be part of it. And because it's been kept secret, people are super into that. And as well as the fact that it's been running so long, people want to see it because it's been running so long. So the reason why it keeps going, people are like, I suppose it's time to go see the Mousetrap now, because it's still there and I'm here and let's do this. So I think it's a whole sort of storm of reasons, but it starts off with it being just a great play.
Definitely, definitely. Maybe we'll pop back down to Jeff again for this one too. What is your opinion on this?
My take on Mousetrap and why it's lasted so long?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't think I can argue with Lily too much there. Probably wouldn't do me any good anyway if I did. But, yeah, it has all the sort of ingredients of a nice whodunit. There are suspicious characters. It's, of course, the classic format of a bunch of people trapped somewhere. In this case, it's not on an island. It's in a country hotel of a sort. And who's going to do it? And it's a whole lot of fun. There is some humor in it. And there's a crazy bunch of characters, but it's all very well written and it all flows very nicely. And I could write something that would last that long.
Thank you. We're moving back here to Frieden now for this one. Frieden, what is your favorite mystery story, either in print, film, or on stage?
Not a story really, but a TV show. Well, I say TV show, they're like feature-length episodes, but have you ever seen Columbo?
Oh,
Yeah.
Columbo.
Yeah, I love it because it's not the classic you don't know who it is until the end, until the detective reveals the murderer. You know all along. The fun in watching it is watching how the detective finds it. You want to see how is he going to pick this up? There seems to be no way, and then when he figures it out, you're like, wow.
Great, thank you. Andrew, do you have an answer that you'd like to add to this one?
I'm distracted by all the shows in the same era of Columbo now. I've been thinking the Peter Falk but I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm just thinking of Rockford Files and Quincy MD. I know these aren't mysteries or anything, but it's just, that's all I'm seeing is Rockford Files guy on the beach with, on the mountain. That was a pretty cool show.
Maggie.
Yeah.
Murder, She Wrote, same idea.
Murder, okay, yeah, we watched a lot of Murder, She Wrote. With, I really appreciate, I'm not an aficionado of the murder mystery genre, but I do, I really appreciate about this one, about the Mousetrap in particular, how there is time spent casting doubt on every person. And I think that is, tying back to the earlier question, one of the secrets of its longevity and its success, that a lot of other things have copied since that time. But yeah, Rockford Files is pretty cool.
Thank you.
Who's the guy in the wheelchair? Ironside.
Ironside.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
exactly, yeah, that guy.
All right, we're going to move down to Carol for our last question of the night here. Carol, so Agatha Christie has certainly left her mark in the world of literature as well as on the big and small screens. Do you have any other favorite Agatha Christie stories and why?
Oh, my loaded question. Okay, well, let's see.
We try.
I know. I would say I've been in a ton of Christie's over the years, but I think my favorite that I was in, apart from Mousetrap, was The Hollow. I'm sorry, but it was my first one. It was 30 years ago this year, almost to the day that we're doing this. I'm still in touch with a lot of those people. It was a lot of fun. It was the first time I kissed a guy on stage. And then I didn't do it again until I was 34. Yeah, I started playing really old ladies then. So that would be my favorite. You shut up. My favorite on stage. I would say from a book perspective would be the first one I read. My father got me into the genre. He gave me this book. He said, here, try to figure it out. And of course I didn't. It's The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I think that may have been even her first book that she wrote. I don't know, but it was just wonderfully crafted. I didn't get it. And after I had that, I just had to do more and more. And then I just got caught up in the Poirot and the mystery on PBS and Miss Marple. So I've just been a fanatic for a long time.
Thank you.
Kojak was another one.
Kojak. He had a lollipop. Okay.
Anybody else like to jump in on that one? Yes, Lily.
Like, to be 100% real, I wasn't really into Agatha Christie until there was an episode of Doctor Who, and she was on it, and she's so good in it. And it was actually trying to like work in how her disappearance, because at one point Agatha Christie disappeared for a while, and she appeared, and she had no memory of what had happened, and Doctor Who answered it for me, obviously. But after that, I started reading, and I got really into it, and my favorite was Endless Night. It's a great story. It's about a guy who marries a woman, and there's a whole intrigue involving a horse and allergy pills. And it's a whole thing. And the movie is the last film, one of the last films that George Saunders did. And he's an amazing actor. And so, obviously, that like sort of tied in as my love of movies and books. But Endless Night, check it out.
Just a quick coinky-dink is that I'm reading The Hollow right now.
Oh.
And I am in love with it. I'm almost done, and I think it is maybe even better than The Mousetrap. Shall I get it? No, it's got a lot more character development.
Yes, it does.
And it is a gorgeous play.
I think
and
Midge.
Oh, I would love to be, that's another one I'd love to be in. I'm done.
Well, I just want to take a moment to thank you all so much for taking the time out of your busy rehearsal to talk with us tonight. And we'd all like to wish you the best as we come into Performance Week. So thank you very much. Thank you. Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap has a long-standing tradition of asking their audience to keep the secret so as to not spoil major plot points of the show. We at Quick as a Wink would like to ask our audiences to do the same as we come into this upcoming production. You can catch Quick as a Wink's production of The Mousetrap for yourself March 16th, 17th, 18th, 23rd, and 24th at 7 p.m. with special matinee performances March 17th, 18th, and 24th at 2 p.m. Have a good night, everyone!
And according to Scotland Yard, the crime took place at 24 Calvert Street, Paddington. The murdered woman was a Mrs. Maureen Lyon. In connection with the murder, the police are anxious to interview a man seen in the vicinity wearing a dark overcoat, light scarf, and soft felt hat.